to install, actually going to download and install Ubuntu Desktop. So go to your favorite search engine, being Google, whatnot, and then just type in Ubuntu. Really, you can just type in Ubuntu. You don't have to do 18, but most of them want to pull up there. Then you go to Ubuntu. Okay, here is Ubuntu. Wow, that's nice. That's really nice. So let's see. So we're going to download the desktop version. We're going to click on downloads and we're going to go to desktop. And we're going to download the desktop Ubuntu version, latest and greatest. Click on download, and you can pay or not. You can skip to pay. I'll pay eventually, but right now, no. So oh yeah, so your download's already been started right here. So that's about 2 gig. So what you do is, once it's downloaded, we'll upload it to our ESXi host. So I'm on the ESXi host now, and we're going to click on the, because I already downloaded it by the way. So we're going to go to our storage. By the way, if you want to get a nice ESXi host, there's plenty of vendors out there. So click on storage, click on the data store, data store browser. You're going to click upload. Then you're going to choose the Ubuntu. In this case, it's not here, but because I've already deleted it basically. But in your case, you would just find the desktop and you would upload it. So let's do one to simulate it. Right? It's not the actual Ubuntu desktop, but we're going to just simulate it with another one. Let's do the ONE KVM, which is I think that's Dell's open network platform. Anyway, we're going to close, and then at the bottom you're going to see right here, it's uploading the file to the data store, and depending on your speed, it's going to take however long right there. Okay, so it's completed. Great. So we're going to head over to the virtual machine. We're going to do create register. So we're going to create a new virtual machine. Now, mind you, this is an ESXi host. This is not Virtual Player does the same thing. VirtualBox kind of does the same thing, and Workstation as well. Hyper-V is a little different. At any rate, so we'll name it Ubuntu Desktop. Ubuntu Desktop. Okay. So that is a Linux machine. That is a Ubuntu. So we're going to find Ubuntu down here. Ubuntu Linux. Yep, 64. Next. The data store. Well, choose the data store if you will. So here's an important consideration. So this you have thin provision. So let me explain these to you. So the simplest term I can use, I guess, is a cup of water, right? So the cup is, this represents the current, I guess, cup of water now. This represents the container or the cup of water that you're putting your stuff in. And the 16 gig, 16 gig represents a cup of water, right? So thin provision says, I see your cup of water is 16 gig, but I'm only going to use so much of it. So, give me 16 gig, but I'm not going to use it all. And if I need to increase, I can. So now, and then you have, that's thin provision. Then you have thick provision, lazily zeroed, which says, okay, I'm going to use that cup of water, but let me use the whole cup of water, but let me use different parts in the water. Basically, like 16 gig, can be at the top, in the bottom, or in the middle, and distributed evenly or distributed however, because maybe there's other things in that cup of water, other VMs basically, right? The last one is this thick provisioned eagerly zero. So that one is like, here's a cup of water. Um, give me the cup of water. Allocate that 16 gig of space in that cup of water for me, and give it to me basically. So that's the difference between those three. Naturally, we're going to choose thick provisioned, right? So all these are pretty much the same. So then you have network. That's important. If you have one network card, we have one. So we have to be, um, we have to know what we're doing with the network. So you can put more than one network. You can put, um, a public-facing IP and a private-facing IP on the same NIC. You can do that. You just have to make sure that it's all set up the right way. And you don't put sometimes you don't put a default gateway. Um, anyway, so then we click on the DVD, so the host device. So this is this is like the C drive, right? So this is how we install the actually Ubuntu, right? So we're going to go and find it. We've recently, well, not recently, but before it was there. So we're going to find it, and it's let's see, open Ubuntu desktop. There we go. So we're going to click on that, select, and then, okay, that's good. So connect at power on. That's good. Everything else looks fine. Next. And now it's like a summary. This is what you're doing. This is how you're going to do it, right? 1 gig, 1 CPU. That's good. Plenty of space for that. Anyway, click on finish, and we're going to see it somewhere here. It should be listed. Yeah, here it is, right here. So we can see all the information here, what's going on. Let's go ahead and power it on and install it. Okay, great. So we're going to be, here's the cool part, you can install it in any language you desire. See how it changes? It's kind of nice, right? Netherlands, Magyar, I think that's Hungarian. Yeah, it's Hungarian. Probably Lithuanian, maybe Kurdi, yeah. Italiano, Italiano. Um, don't know any of these. French. This looks like Spain Spanish. I think. I think it's Spain Spanish. Maybe not. Maybe another one. Portuguese, Tagalog. Wow, Tagalog. Okay. Um, Turkish, Russian, I think. So I'm going to click on English, and we're going to do install Ubuntu. We're going to choose our keyboard layout, English, and English US. Continue. Okay, so you have normal and minimal, right? If you have the internet on this one, like if when you install it, you have access to the internet, or you can put internet on it, then do minimal. But if you don't, put normal. It's There's a big difference. It puts a bunch of stuff on it basically when you do normal. Just I won't say it's bloated, but it's bloated. There's a lot of stuff on it. So we're gonna just choose normal because we're gonna assume that, well, we do have access to the internet, but we're just gonna choose normal. See all the cool things they have going on. Otherwise, you have to do a lot of apt get install different things. Okay, so we're going to erase and install Ubuntu. It's saying, do you want to write the changes to disk? Meaning, it's going to be formatted. Now, this is not actually going to be, if you had like a virtual box, let's say, right, and you're using on your computer, all this means is it doesn't harm your hard drive, basically, or damage your hard drive. has its own internal hard drive that is saying, okay, I'm gonna write these changes to those hard drives, not yours. It's a virtualized environment, so you can feel free to break it, play with it, whatever. It's not going to affect your computer or Mac or Linux box or whatever you're using. So we're going to click. We're going to write these changes. So we're going to click continue. So we're going to choose our location. So let's put it. Um, we're not in California, but we're going to choose California because that's what the Active Directory server is on. So we're going to push next, continue. Okay, here's where we're going to identify our host name. So we're going to go to our lab sheet and see what is our computer name. Okay, so the CommVault lab, right? So it's Lin SRVR CMV LTMA1. Okay, put the information in, and let's just take off this virtual information here, whatever that stuff is there. Virtual machine. Okay. May not start with end or hyphen. Okay, so we'll just remove that. And then we'll just put our password in. So I like to do log in automatically at first. Um, when you do required my password login, when you're setting up your lab, it just takes forever just to get it, and it's just so much easier if you just log in automatically, in my mind. And you can change it later on, right? But at any rate, let's. So we're done with that. So we're going to click on continue the next step. Okay, so here we go. It's copying its files. It's going through its install, and yeah. So we are. Let's see. We're going to just. We're going to come back when it's done installing, and then I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, our installation is complete. That was quick. It wasn't quick, but through the power of the internet, it's quick here. Anyway, we're gonna restart the computer, and yeah, so we're gonna restart now. Okay, we need to remove the installation CD basically and reboot it. So let's do like this. Let's do please remove and then reboot. Okay, so we're gonna pause. We're gonna edit. Basically, this is just when you uncheck your ISO file from your VM, that's essentially removing it, right? So we can do host device. Okay, save it. Yep. Okay. Okay, successfully configured. And then we'll just push enter here. Should reboot it as well. Yeah. Or the other way is just right click on it or power off, power on. Let's see. Let's go here and let's do virtual machines. And we're going to find the virtual machine wherever it's at. We're going to click it. We're going to right click on it and we're going to power and reset. Yeah, we're going to do that. We're going to reset it. Restart, reset, same thing. Well, not exactly the same thing, but in our case it is. Power back on. Oh, well, okay. Guess I have to wait for it to power off completely. Well, let's turn it back on. Let's see how it works. Okay. So I think I know what the problem is. Sometimes these things happen to your virtual machine. So what the solution sometimes is this. You right click on it and you go to unregister it from the the ESXi host, right? It's unregistered. It's not there. Then you go to your data store, your storage, find it. Data store browser, right? and then you're going to go to the where it just installed at. So that was Ubuntu Desktop. And we're going to right click on it and register VM. Close that, go back to your VMs. Where is it at? Yeah, here you go. Okay, it's been registered, good. I'm going to turn it back on. Usually that does it. That'll fix it. Okay, this is going to log in automatically when it comes up. Okay, you successfully installed Ubuntu Desktop. See all these things now? That's because you did that normal installation. These little icons and all that. So, okay, thanks for viewing this tutorial.
Ubuntu Server and get it on CommVault, we need to first make sure it's updated and also make sure it is, got the correct IP. Make sure that the timing is the same as Active Directory Domain Controller, and make sure our our domain name server DNS IP address is the one that's actually on the Active Directory server, so that you can get internet basically to it. So this is how you set up both an Active Directory server, you join a Ubuntu to a domain, and also is getting Ubuntu to surf the internet from a Windows server or Active Directory server in our case. Meaning basically the Active Directory server is on the internet and it has a 172 network, a second IP or a second NIC card basically, that all of the other servers are talking to. And from there it's connected to the internet, meaning the DNS name, DNS IP is the IP address of the domain controller. So let's look at first how to set up your IP on your Ubuntu server. Get that ready, get all good to go, and then we'll look at our domain controller and make sure that the same IP, domain name server on there. So from this prompt, you see sudo -s, right? So how do you get there? So when you first pull up your Windows or your Ubuntu server, it's going to prompt you with the $sign. Let me get to that, so I'll just type exit, and that'll prompt me to my $sign. Exit, so exit again. Looking for that $sign, basically. Okay, so now we'll do sudo -s. That logs us into the root. So we put our password in for the root. And this basically is like administrator mode, basically, for you Windows folks. Running command on how it works, how this works and all that. So what you're going to see is when it's in sudo, after my password is the correct one, if you will, it's going to pull up with a hash, which is shift 3 looks like. And it's taking its sweet time. Fantastic. Okay. Next thing you want to do is you want to do a server. You just type in sudo apt-get update. And it took a long time for mine, so I'm not going to do it on here, but just to show you how it works. It's sudo apt-get update is the command. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to do nano, which is nano's like so you have cat, which is I can see it, cat eyes or cat. You have nano, which is edit basically. I think VI as well, but nano and cat are the two. Cat is I can read it, nano is I can edit it. So I'm going to go in the Etsy folder. So anytime you in Linux, most things are done from the Etsy basically. So we're going to go in Etsy and we're going to go network interfaces, interfaces. This is this is like you're statically assigning an IP address to your interfaces. You may be asking, Well, how did you get there? What is all that stuff? How did you get that? Well, if you're familiar with Windows, let me just exit Control X out of that. If you're familiar with Windows, you know IP config, right? Well, this is IF config. So IF config tells you the interfaces that are on your server, and I've already set it up already. I'm just showing you right now the interfaces, right? So your interface names are they used to be ETHO or eighth O, right? But now it's, for whatever reason, it's ENS 160 in this case. I mean, the more interfaces you add, it changes the name, like 192 and all that sort of stuff. So you want to know you want to know the interfaces you're changing, right? And I only have one interface, so that makes it easy. So if I wanted to change this, I would just do that command up arrow again, and then go nano, Etsy. Let me actually show you the cat real quick here, how it looks. Cat, okay? I can't edit anything, it just shows me, right? So let me do nano, I'm gonna edit it. And you see here, you see that you can edit anything really here, hash mark, whatever. Anytime you put a hash mark in front of something, that it comments it out. For instance, that'll comment it out. The machine's not going to read it. Like, okay, I don't know. In my case, I had to add this in. So auto, the interface name, IF name. Oh, wait a minute. Look at that. 160. Oh, look at that. How did I miss that? Well, whatever. So ENS, inet, static. That's the interface network, static, or interface, basically. Address is the address you list. Your net mask, which is like your CIDR, your /24. Your broadcast domain. Usually, it's going to be whatever your network is or whatever your address is. It's going to be like the end is going to be like .255. Your gateway is the first device that all of your machines hit. So it's a router, it's a switch. That's the first device it hits before it goes out somewhere else. For instance, in our case, the ESXi host I only have one NIC on it. So I just created a default gateway in the ESXi host. So I named it 192.168.30.1. So that's my default gateway that I'm hitting. It doesn't go anywhere. But normally, if you have a switch or a router, put a default gateway. That's the first device it hits before it goes out to the next device or the internet, what have you. Our network, of course, you just drop add a 0. I mean, not always the case, but in our case, it's .0. And our name server. This thing is really critical here. Without this, you can't get on the internet. 100%. Well, not this setting, but another setting. You can't get on the internet, no matter what, from this. And then finally, your DNS search. So we're setting up our garlic.local, garlicfood.local. Let me show you the interface that makes the internet possible, basically. So I'm going to exit out of here. We know this is good. And I'm going to go no, because I didn't. Oh, you know what? I actually did change something. Let's go back in. Let's go here. We did do something. We go, okay, 160. Yeah. Again. Okay. No. Okay. What happened there? Exit. Nano again. Okay. Cool. Let's go back in. We'll go put 160. We'll go Control X. Exit. Yes. Yep. Saving it there. So let me show you the actual where you're going to put that interface portion so that you can get on the internet. So for instance, you have a Ubuntu server, and you don't want to waste an IP. Some places you only give you 1 or 2 or 3 IPs, public, and you want to make sure you just access the internet from it. So in our case, we're just going to show you. It's cat/etsy/resolve.conf. Push enter, and you're going to see that at the bottom. I didn't change the first one. The bottom one, the name server, that's how you get the internet right there. So for instance, if you wanted to do it like this, If you wanted to, for example, you don't have, let's just say you don't have a controller, right? So in that case, you could just put Google's DNS server. Yeah, you could just do that, and that would take the place of the 172. You could do that either way. So in our case, we have 172, but we already have our. And I'll go over and show you really quick what that looks like. I'm going to exit, and yes. So notice I didn't make it a setting. I just put a little, a hash mark. Don't read that basically, but that's what you type in there. Name server Google's 8.8.8.8. Okay, let's go over to the domain controller. I want to show you that 172.168. Rather 172.16.30.2. So I'm on my domain controller now, and I want to show you. So I have two interfaces. This interface here is my external, meaning it goes out to the internet. It goes out to the cloud, or it goes to the internet, the world, basically, right? All that stuff. Look at all those nice packets, right? And then I have my internal, which is my, that's what I'm accessing the internet from. This guy right here. Click on details. So this is what I was talking about here. So this IP address, this domain controller, is 172.16.30.2. And you see the subnet mask, of course, is a /24 CIDR or 24, /24 subnet, which gives me 255 hosts. Really, not 255, more like 253, right? So 0 and 225 are probably not. They're probably taken. Network and broadcast will be those two. The 0 is network, 25 is broadcast. And that's how I'm getting the internet basically right here. Is from this guy right here. That's exactly how I'm getting it. So what's happening is my Ubuntu server, my Windows other media agent, all the servers basically, they're coming in, and I'm putting the domain name server as this guy here. So from him, or this NIC, it's going through this NIC out to the internet. You can get me browsing the internet, whatever. That's how that works, by the way. Just as easy as that. So, okay, this has been a tutorial on how to get your IP set up, internet working on Ubuntu box. The next one's going to be about setting up your domain, or rather setting up Active Directory on the same Ubuntu box, actually.